It looks like we are live. Welcome to those of you who are joining us on Facebook tonight. We have a very special Bible study tonight. We have a guest that has traveled a very long way to be with us, all the way from Israel. It's very exciting because we have, as you know, we haven't had him here in, probably 2 years? It's been close to 2 years, right? Yeah, so we're very excited that Shmuel is with us tonight. He doesn't need any introduction in this congregation. We've been well connected with Christian Friends of Israeli Communities and Shmuel for several years now. I want to say before we get started that afterwards we're going to have a time of questions and answers. And for those of you who are joining us on Facebook, if you have any questions to ask Shmuel, you can type it in the comment box underneath and we'll get to your questions afterwards. So without further ado, Shmuel, we welcome you. Take your time.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Shalom, everyone. Shalom. I have a mask here in the pocket. How are you, friends? How are you, Facebook? Friends, where do I start? It's been a while. A year and a half, almost in a complete lockdown in Israel. That's the reality. I mean, no schools, no kindergarten, no active life. Everything was really closed. I'll get to it later. But first, I want to start by saying, on a personal note, that for me coming here is a great joy after a while, but not seeing my good friend, Pastor Don, it's a big loss. Personally, I met many pastors during my work in CFOIC. I didn't meet somebody like Pastor Don. I thought how to summarize it. You know him, but for me, my relationship with him was the fact that he was a man of truth. I sat with him once here before one of our gatherings in a diner somewhere, and I caught myself in a situation. You know, sometimes you have a moment when you look at yourself from the outside. Like, if I would see myself from the outside, what am I doing right now? And I saw myself from the outside, sitting with a person, Pastor Don, two people, and what we discussed was what is going to be the biggest challenges for Israel in the coming future, and how do we solve them? And it was very commit to Israel. Like, I never saw somebody that was everything for him almost. No question asked. No challenges. For him, it was a truth that came from his heart in the strongest way possible. And he went with that, with his leadership, and he passed it on to you, and he passed it to any person who wanted to hear him. And it's a big loss for me. It's a big loss, obviously, for you, and I think it's a big loss for Israel. So may the following things are going to be in his memory. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about 3 small vignettes, separated things altogether, not connected, as it's not my first time here, probably not my last time. If we survived a world pandemic and a year and a half lockdown, we're going to come more. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to watch a short clip. I don't know if you watched it. It's something new. Then we're going to talk about these 3 vignettes. Then we're going to have the floor for questions. And then we're going to watch a never-seen-before video with the beautiful views of Israel, especially Judea and Samaria. What? So that's a trailer for your trip, right? Okay, so if we can start with video number 1, I'll be back.
After centuries of exile and dispersion, the people of Israel have returned to the biblical heartland, our ancestral homeland, just as God promised.
Even if your outcasts are at the ends of the world, from there the Lord your God will gather you. He will bring you to the land that your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it.
We have settled this land in fulfillment of prophecy, but we are also building a good and kind society where we reach out to our neighbors, care for them, and comfort them.
My wife and I were both Holocaust survivors, and we were married for 69 years. She passed away 3 years ago. I live alone.
Losing a spouse is an earth-shattering experience for our seniors. Loneliness, depression, this is where we must step in. At the Seniors Club, they connect to people, they smile, they laugh, they come alive.
A family in financial crisis is a family that cannot function. We help them find jobs and work with them to become better parents. But first, we have to make sure they have food.
Okay guys, we have to pack 600 food packages for tonight, so the family will have food for the holidays.
And that's where CFOIC Heartland has made all the difference.
We face so many levels of need. Teenagers at risk, children growing up in dysfunctional families, children with learning disabilities and ADD, and handicapped children. Early intervention is critical, but we're far from the urban centers where resources are plentiful. In Judea and Samaria, the community and the professionals work together, providing children with the care and the love they need. We enable these youngsters to become productive adults, contributing to Israel.
I love it here.
CFOIC has played a vital role in turning a dream of redemption into a reality.
We are surrounded by hostile Arabs who attack us at every opportunity. The Israeli army has our backs, but they can't be everywhere at once. Volunteer rapid responders are filling in the gap, protecting the people of Judea and Samaria.
What we need is cameras, drones, and communication devices.
I have been attacked by terrorists. I've lost friends. Terrorists murdered 2 boys who were hiking in the valley below. But thanks to surveillance cameras donated by CFOIC, we will be able to stop the terror before it attacks us. Our Christian friends are literally saving lives.
The restoration of our people and our land has brought ongoing challenges and risks. God has blessed our efforts, and so have you, our Christian friends. We are struggling to settle biblical Israel, to put down roots in our ancestral homeland. But you can partner with us as we nurture our children, embrace our elderly, and protect our families. Join us today and experience the fulfillment of prophecy. Support CFOIC Heartland and take part in building Judea and Samaria.
So that's us, CFOIC. You know our work, you support our work, you've been long-lasting friends with us, and we are waiting for you to arrive. So, I told you about 3 small vignettes, and I'll start. I'll start with this. A couple of months ago, I heard this on the news, I knew that's the first thing I'm going to speak about when I'm going to come to visit. Not here, generally the US. I knew that's a thing not many people are going to hear about, and we need to spread the news about it. I'm talking about a very interesting story. In Shechem, you know there's 2 mountains right? Grizim and Eival. Mount of blessing, mount of curse. The 5 books of Moses already describes that when the Israelites are going to arrive to Israel, there's going to be a ceremony. Priests are going to stand in both sides and they're going to give a blessing, and there's going to be a curse, and that's going to be a place of covenant between God, the people, and the land. Very crucial place. And indeed, in the book of Joshua, in the very beginning, when they enter the land, they arrive to this area and they do this covenant. And it says there that there's also going to be an altar that Joshua is going to build. You heard of this concept, right? Yeah. The thing is this. Whenever we're talking about the biblical heartland of Judea and Samaria, we know and we always connect the places and the stories of the Bible. And obviously, when people arrived after 67, after Judea and Samaria was freed, they wanted to see all the biblical spots. They wanted to see Shiloh, Bethel, and they also wanted to come and see the altar in Shechem, the Joshua's altar. The truth is, even before 67, researchers for 200 years came to see maybe we can find this altar. Why this altar is so important? Question. Wake up a bit today. Why is this altar so important? Question. No. So there's an altar. So what? Yes. Don't be shy. I'll help you this time, but that's the last time I'm going to help you. Because it's a crucial point that can prove the existence of such a covenant in the land. One of the first steps in entering the land was that. If we can connect between that time period and an altar and that place, we can really draw the line and say, look at what happened. Ancient Israelites came, it says in the Bible, but researchers and scientists don't usually believe in that Bible. But when you see a proof, that's strong. They didn't find the altar. For 200 years, 300 years, we have the names of the researchers from France, from England, some American as well. I'll explain to you why. So imagine there's 2 hills like this, okay? If you've been in the 3 Seas observation point, you can see it in front of you very clear. Actually, we saw it in the movie. So if the 2 hills are here, okay? Never mind, let's say it's a curse, this is the blessing. Where all the researchers looked for? Obviously, they looked in the area that faces the Adder Mountain. Correct? Probably, that makes sense, right? Because we heard they need to be in front, there's going to be priests, so obviously it's going to be in front. It wasn't there. Only in 67, a person named Adam Zartal, who wasn't anything, was a soldier after vacation, began to walk around the mountain, promenade, look around, saw a big set of stones out there. The guy is a kibbutznik, as you want to call it. You know what's a kibbutz? A kibbutz is like a socialist group that lives together in equality. Sounds nice, right? But more than that, what we know is one of the formulas of making a kibbutz, at least in the old days, they're very, very secular. They're not at all connected to Bible studies, right? Why it's important to note? Because this guy was going to be a famous professor, an archaeological digger, expert in the end, then wasn't anything. And he sees this big pile of stones. He begins to move some things, and he is sure that he found a house. Because when he takes some stones, he sees there's like a structure, like a Like there's going to be a short wall and some rooms. I found a house. He brings some other students, friend, who help him to dig things out, and he begins to research the area. And that didn't make any sense. So we saw a big room and small different rooms and a staircase going up, but it wasn't steps. It was like a slippery thing, right? Now, if you ever saw the altar, you know that there's like a big, let's say a table, and there's like a slippery thing where the priests go up. When he saw that, he didn't know it's an altar. But when he went inside and he moved everything, he saw some really weird artifacts. Number one, he found 3,000 different types of bones, animal bones, all kosher. 3,000, I mean different animals. He sent it to a lab. He said, listen, all bones of animals, all kosher animals. Why, these people really love to eat meat. Makes sense, right? A restaurant, maybe. Then he found something else. You found something like a coin. But listen to this, it's a coin that was made in Egypt in the time that the researchers say Ramses II. If you see the chronological aspect, that's what we know to be in the Exodus Pharaoh. Whoa. What? An artifact from Egypt in Shechem, in a house? That's weird. Adam Zaltar doesn't understand what's happening to him until one of the students come to him and say, Adam, this is an altar. Oh, wait, now it makes sense. There's bones, there's this thing. Found vessels inside. Researchers, scientists in the university date it to the time of the iron, equal to the time of Joshua. We have something that literally proves us an existence from the time of Joshua, equal to the biblical time, Joshua, vessels, bones, altar, and somebody brought a souvenir from Egypt. Blows your mind or not? Have you heard of this before? Yes? I'll tell you something. There's a problem in that place. It is located in an area that we cannot go and visit. Palestinians are there. So most of the people are not going to be there. I was once, 20 years ago, when I was a soldier. Until now, it's a good story, funny, interesting, good. I'll tell you what happened 3 months ago, 4 months ago. So you have this area, which is the altar, and there's like, you know how there's a foot area above the altar, and there's like a wall. And our friends, our neighbors, the Palestinians, decided to pave a road next to their village. The road happened to be next to the altar. So imagine this is the altar, and I want to pave this road. Why would I take stones from there? They took stones from the altar, from this ancient place, paved it, braked it, and made a road out of it. If we wouldn't stop them in the middle of the process, I don't know if we had a story, because I would tell you there was something before, and you would say, really, there's nothing now. They literally took and braked stones from the altar and paved the road out of it. So now, it's either that there's a lack of stones in the area. It's either that they didn't know. I'm guessing it's a different story. I'm guessing it's an opportunity to erase our connection, our history in the land. Every time I'm here, I'm talking about the biblical connection of the people to the biblical heartland. And now every Christian who believes in the Bible and cares about our existence needs to understand that's simple. That's simple. 1 + 1. Israel, biblical heartland, Judaism, connected. They are erasing our existence from the land. You take this altar, you made a road off of it. The kids, some kids here, one day they're going to ask, like they ask in Passover, what did you mean by saying that there's an altar there? There's nothing there. Now you go and need to explain to them, no, there was an altar, but they took it, they break it. Erasing history. Number one. Number two. Many people asked me, Shmuel, what's the story with COVID in Israel? Why? Why so strict? Why so serious? Why so crazy? Why all the way? I'll give you my theory. I think it's a good theory, and I think it's actually a right theory. You'll tell me what you think. But before that, I'm going to give it to you. Why do you think we took it so seriously? I love to hear your answers. Again, open question, don't be shy. You can decide who's going to talk, and I'm not going to see. It's a nice answer, and it's a nice, warms your heart. But I feel that people care about life generally. Israel cares about life, but not more than any other country in the world. I wouldn't say any country. There were some countries who used the same concept as Israel, but we took it very seriously. And I'm asking why. It's a good answer. I'll take it, but yeah. Interesting. You're saying maybe if the pandemic would hit really, really, really strong, and we were in a case of emergency, hospitals all over the place, they're going to take advantage of it, attack us, and we will be weak. I love your answer. I'm going to use your answer from now. It's a good answer. I'm thinking about Abraham, right? In the third day, he sat on his tent and waited for visitors. And he was weak. When you're weak, you need to be alert. Very good approach. Nice. More. Be open. You thought about it. Come on. You thought about it. So, because of the pandemic, we closed the borders? And you're saying that the reason is to stop people from coming in? Nah. Sounds like a... I don't know. First of all, yes, we stopped people from coming in and coming out. And it was a good result because you saw how many people came in bringing COVID. Israel is like half an island. If we really would close it, we wouldn't have any COVID. But we cannot really close it, right? Relatives, Israelis, business stuff. Reason to close the land? Unfortunately, not only that, I would say that in my end result would be telling you that I hope you're going to come soon, because Israel without tourists is a hard place. I think 20% of our general economy is based on tourism. If we could, we would let everybody in. Yes. More? Just if you thought about it, if you want to share. No? You have something? Okay. You sure? No. The truth is this. I didn't read it. I didn't heard a bit from somebody. I thought about it. I flew here for 12 hours. And on the way here, just before I boarded the flight, I received a message from a pastor, a friend pastor here, who told me, after seeing what happens in Israel and the whole approach about COVID, I'm reconsidering my attachment to Israel. Wow. I'm very strict. He says, I'm not sure this is the place. I want to be affiliated so much. I care about Israel. And the way I feel, the way they treat others, the lockdowns, the vaccine and everything, not sure I can be a supporter anymore. That's a very strong statement. I know him. He's a friend. What made him feel so offended, he took it so seriously, so privately, like we're attacking him? So maybe that's what you're saying. Maybe he thought that we are locking, could be. But I'll share with you my philosophy here, and it's based on an approach of one Israeli. But I feel that to understand this, you need to go into the mentality and the set of mind of an Israeli. Okay? So walk with me in the path. It's not going to be so long. I think I want to say two words. Okay? One is network. Second is emergency. We'll start with the first one. You've been to Israel. Israel is a small country. 7.5, 8 million Jewish people in the area. The reason I'm saying Jewish and not general, because of the network word I want to use. You take yourself. You're working in a place, right, in the area. Your kids go to a school in the area. And your network is based on that. The people who work in your place are people that are living, like 20 minutes, 40 minutes around this area. Now take this concept. Israel, such a small country. If you work in Tel Aviv, for example, in your workplace, there are people from literally every spot of the country. People need to commute sometimes an hour and a half to work. An hour and a half from Tel Aviv, you're think of the circle it's based, 75-80% of Israel civilians live an hour and a half from Tel Aviv. Now, what it means that you had to protect the elders. That's what we were told. But when you understand that, when you're in a situation that you're exposed to so many people from so many places at all time, the opportunity to move from place to place, this disease, is huge. Think about soldiers. If you are a soldier, and every person between the age of 18 and 21 is a soldier in Israel, you're going to the base on Sunday, and you are literally, not as a saying, exposed to 100% of the locations in Israel, because they don't divide you according to your location. In your base, you have people from Kiryat Shmona all the way to Elat, every town, every place. Same goes as university. Same goes in public transportation. In a small country like that, the connection between the people is huge, more than that. When you think about it, during our lifetime, we have like circles. We have our friends, we have our church, we have our neighborhood, maybe we have like people around us. The interconnections in Israel, there's nothing like it. Think of the fact that you are literally exposed to every group in Israel, in every surrounding situation. The army and school, right? The transportation, your workplace. There's not even one single tribe, I'll call a group in Israel, a tribe that can say, you know what, we are isolated, we're good. It cannot be. A place like Israel is tucked inside and together. And if you've been to Israel, you saw something else. Who here lives on a private home? Most of you? In Israel? All buildings. There's not, you can live in your home, your neighbor lives there, and it's all good. We are in together, in the elevator and in the stairs, and most of Israel lives in high-tide building. You know that. All the major cities in Israel are buildings. We don't have the room to spread out in private housing. So you had a connection to that. that the network of an average Israeli is huge. And to protect that, and to be able to protect that, you basically had to close everything. And if you wouldn't close a thing, you would know it would come from that side. Soldiers in the army had to be in the base. It doesn't sound a lot to compare with like a professional soldier that you know. You go a year and a half, 6 months. In Israel, it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They're 45 minutes of home. But being in a base for 2 months because of COVID was a serious situation. But more than that, that's technical. I want to say something essential. An Israeli is born, and from a very young age, he knows one thing. We are in a state of emergency. Think about it. Every Israeli had to go through several wars. Every time I'm here, including the last time I remember I stood here and I received a message 5 minutes before that, there was Gaza shooting missiles like they shot 2 or 3 days ago. It's always the same time, always like that. And I remember I sat here and I received the message that they used a bird. They took a bird and put explosive on the legs and threw it to the Israeli side. And I said, it's probably an inspiration of Angry Birds. That was like the game at that time. I remember, I enjoyed my joke. Angry Birds. So every person in Israel lives in that condition. It's either from Gaza, from the north. When I was a student, your age, I went to school with a nice box. In the box there was a gas mask. That was the Gulf War. In the Gulf War, we were treated, Iraq said they're going to throw missiles with gas on you. Biological weapon. I remember I went to school with a box. Mask. Gas mask. See, a gas mask, what's this? That's a joke, right? I'm talking about a gas mask. I remember as a child living in Netanya, not talking about Samaria now for a second. Remember, I went on a bus to school several times. I saw people going inside the front entrance of the bus, and I said to myself, they're going to explode, and I had to go from the back door. Indeed, in Netanya, when I was young, I was your age, 12, 13 buses exploded. You remember the time, the 90s. You see, every person in Israel understands that this is a set time of emergency. And if it's not clear, you come to the age of 7, 8, 9, and you begin to understand that one day, it's going to be coming soon, you're going to go to the army. Every kid in Israel, in the age of 18 till the age of 21, goes to the army. You understand why we think we're in emergency all time? We don't think we are in an emergency at all time. While we're speaking at this moment, we have 3 major considerations of attacks. We have Gaza, we have the north, and we have Iran talking very seriously of how they want to attack us. So when you wake up in the morning and you live your life in a set of an emergency in your heart, this is emergency, right? You understand that when they tell you it's an emergency, you become a soldier again. A soldier, there's rules, there's commands, you salute, and you do what you're being asked to do. Now it sounds like criticism, that we're soldiers is not a good thing to do what you've been told. But when you understand this is a set of an emergency, we get together to help and to support and to fight together. And that was a sense. We are fighting. Sometimes it's missiles, sometimes it's attacks, sometimes it's something you cannot see. It's a germ, it's a virus, whatever you want to call it. And that was the set of mind for an Israeli. So from the get-go, everything's closed. But you complain because things are closed. You remember when you sat in shelters? You remember when you had to wear uniforms and go to fight? You're crying because there's no school? You know what I went to when I was a young person? I went with the masgas. This is the philosophy of Israelis. We are ready to fight. And this fight means to be in a lockdown. That's not so pricey. Okay, so you're going to have a vacation. You're not going to eat in a restaurant. You're going to save some money. So what? It's good. A year, no school. What is going to happen to the kids? You remember what happened in the last wars? You remember the trauma of kids going to school and buses exploding next to their face? You remember what it is to go into school in Judea and Samaria and you don't know if you're going to be shot or stoned? So what? There's no school. Perspective. Therefore, when the vaccine was there, we saluted and we stand. There's a war. There's a way to win it. We're going to be there. And indeed, I want to give you the facts. Almost more than 5 million Israelis took the vaccine. Last week was the first day with no people dying from COVID. It was one day. We have an average of 100 sick people per day. It's nothing. We had 15,000, 10,000 per day. And this thing, since last Sunday, you do not need to go with this on the streets. Like, I flew Saturday night, so I haven't spent one day without a mask. But it's amazing. Restaurants are open. Everything is, concerts, shows. There was a war. I think we won it. I think the approach the average Israeli has and the government has is that there was a war and we won it and we're moving forward. And if you Google tonight, Israel COVID, you will see the headlines. While the world is still suffering, hundreds of thousands of cases in India, in Europe, countries are, Israelis are drinking wine on the street, partying, eating falafel. I saw a photo, somebody eating falafel like this. That's funny. That's the Israeli celebration. But the network and the connection between the people and the sense of emergency, and we are good at emergencies. We're actually better in emergency than regular life, right? Because there's one thing we're not good at is planning ahead. If you've been to Israel, you know what I'm talking about. You're after the place, we booked. What booked? What is booked? Sit, wait, we will see. What happened? Why are we not good in planning? Because there's an emergency. The sky is going to fall in a second. You want me to plan ahead? I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring me. Think about it. We really do not plan ahead because we actually do not know what's going to happen. It's not true. We know that tomorrow is going to come and there's going to be a next week. But our philosophy of mind, okay, the soul says, chill. I remember once in Japan I heard, not a joke, that the head of the train service manager had to, he retired from his job. He said he needed to quit because the average late time of trains was not 9 seconds, but 15 seconds. Because of that, he said, it's not functioning, I need to leave. I thought about Israel. When there's no emergency and nothing is going to change tomorrow and the next day, yes, 15 seconds is a big deal. When things can, missiles on your head, so 15 minutes, you lost your train. Why are you crying? Nothing happened. Continue. That's the approach. It's different, weird. You can see it as a weird concept. I respect that, but that's where it comes from. That's my original thought. I really feel that's something which is there's a lot of truth there. I think it explains some of the approaches Israeli had, And when you see an Israeli with his mask, with everything around him, I took the vaccine. When you're used to fight for your freedom, the one thing you care about, you do not tell me what to do. We are fighting for our existence. For that, we need a commander. We need rules. We need commands. Third vignette. It's connected to number 2, and it's connected to number 1 as well. I told you the first thing I said, I'm going to come here, I'm going to share with you what happened in the altar of Joshua. Number 2, it's on the way here, on the flight. I thought, I need to share this. I need to tell the people what we have in mind. He's not the first person to connect me. By the way, he didn't want to see me. He really disconnected the connection. He said, I cannot see you. Like, Israel is gone for me. Okay. I wanted to share that with you. And number 3 is what the future is going to bring to us. At least the way we see it today. In 2 aspects. 1, when will you be able to come back to Israel? And 2nd, where Israel is heading, if you have any awareness of what happens in Israel, the one word you heard a lot is election. We had 4 elections in 2 years. It's going to be short though, because we want to leave time for questions. The first, I believe that very soon Israel is going to open up for tourists. You won't be obligated to take the vaccine. You're going to have to take checkups, like I took yesterday, before boarding a flight, 72 hours before. And when you land, you do another checkup. And 2 days later, you do another checkup, and that's it. Yes, that's going to be the new normal. I see in America, that's the word, the new normal. The new normal. It's a nice expression. That's going to be the new normal. No vaccine, no obligation, no forcing you. You want to come, we want to protect our land. We want to know that nobody comes with a variant. Let's play it safe. Better be safe than sorry. Another expression. I heard in the past, but I fell in love last week. I'm sorry with this expression. And politics. Wow. We don't have the time for this. We do not have the time. I'll say it in 2 sentences. We have a Prime Minister, Netanyahu. For some reason, and that's the bottom line, he cannot make a government. A government is a majority of 60 seats out of 120 seats in the parliament. You vote for a group, right? For a party. If they have 4 seats, they have a seat in the parliament. There's 120 seats. The prime minister needs to have a majority of 60, 61. Bottom line, Netanyahu doesn't get the 60. Why? Because they don't want to sit with him, and they don't want to sit with him, and he doesn't want to sit with him. It sounds like classroom babies. Where are we going to sit? It's not far from that. There is some ideology behind it, but the very fact and the very truth is this. When there's something important like your country, you should settle down and solve it. So yes, they are acting like babies, but what's going to happen now? They're now a week and a half till the end of the attempt for Netanyahu to build a government, 4th time. He has 3 options. 1, 5th election. Go to election again. Nothing is going to change. 2nd option, it's going to be a crazy one, but it's going to move aside. A lot of the party says, we don't want to do a government with your party. We don't want to sit with you. You. Bibi, you are the problem. Move away and we're going to join. Is it fair? I'm not sure. The people voted for him. Why are you moving him? Some people really don't want to see him anymore. And that could be an option, that he's going to move away and allow somebody else to be number 1. Hard to see that happens. Third option, most likely, and that's weird, so listen well. When you have small parties, every individual party has stronger power. Why is that? Because to get 60, you can have a party of 5 and saying, if the trees are not going to be colored in red, we're not going to join you. If I need you to my 60, I'll do what you say. You're able to squeeze a lot more with 5 seats. It's going to be, could be, that small parties with 6, 7, or 8 mandates, 6 mandate seats, would be able to squeeze a rotation in being a prime minister. Meaning, allow us to be a prime minister for 1 year. You take 2 years, Netanyahu, and we'll take the 4th year. Yes, with 7 seats, it's very likely that we're going to see a prime minister for 1 year in rotation with 7 seats. Only because he cannot make a parliament of 60 people. It is crazy like it sounds. But the truth is, it could be even worse. Because people want to move him away so bad that all the left in Israel came to right-wing small parties and said, we accept you as the prime minister, we're going to connect with you. The left approving a right-wing small party to be the prime minister, only to move Netanyahu away. So the situation is really bad. He doesn't have any other ways. Netanyahu needs to think very, very creatively to solve this. As I said, these are the options. Not bad, or I said, not bad as options, not good for us as people. Friends, before I'm going to allow you to ask questions, I want to summarize with this. Coming to you here after a year and a half really means a lot to us. And I think it means a lot to you as well. It felt like everything stopped. But there's one thing that didn't stop, and that's the friendship, the love, and the connection. Even from distance, it wasn't easy. There was this awful thing. There's an app, you remember Zoom? You remember Zoom? Yeah, you had? Of course you had. Everybody had it. And it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. We had to have this connection. The first opportunity we had to come, we came. We hope you're going to do the same. And the first opportunity you have, you will come. You will join us. So as I said, number one, come because they're erasing our history. And we want you, our friends, to continue to support and make us stronger. Number two, understand us. Sometimes we do weird things. It's okay. You have friends in Israel. Ask them openly, what's the story? I think you can get great answers, genuine answers. You do not need to get the responses from CNN. You actually have friends in Israel. Number three, pray for us. Elections, no elections. We're going to be there together. We're going to try to do the best for the state of Israel, to the land of Israel, and to continue our friendship, support, and love with you guys. And before we're going to open for questions, I want to show you something for the first time. So, because people could not come to Israel, because we got a lot of friends saying to us, you know, we want to come. I think we did something a bit over the top for our quality of videos. We really went with the professional crew into the different places in Judea and Samaria, and we gave you a 3-4 minutes, I don't know how long it is, of a very, very, very close look at the story of Judea and Samaria, but especially to see the views, the people, in our communities. Hope you enjoy.
The land you are about to cross into and possess, a land of hills and valleys, soaks up its water from the rains of heaven. It is a land which the Lord your God looks after, on which the Lord your God always keeps his eye, from year's beginning to year's end.
This is the land of Israel. This is the biblical heartland. This is Judea and Samaria. God first revealed his plan for Israel to Abraham at the Oak of Moreh. I will give this land to your children. Hundreds of years later, God would bring the nation of Israel back to this very same area, to Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal, and enter into a covenant with the people of Israel that would bind them to the God of Israel and to the land of Israel forever. Hebron became the home of the patriarchs and matriarchs and their burial place, and later, King David's first capital. Shiloh was the first capital of Israel, where the tabernacle stood for close to 400 years. King David tended his sheep in the hills near Bethlehem and later fled from Saul in the mountains south of Hebron. God has fulfilled his promise and has gathered his people back into the land, and they have returned to the biblical heartland, building communities where their ancient forefathers walked and lived, where the kings of Israel ruled, and where the prophets spoke the words that have reached fulfillment today. 500,000 Jews live in Judea and Samaria, in small communities, larger towns, and cities. They have built homes, schools, businesses, and shopping centers. They have built communities based on solidarity, compassion, and acceptance. Their foundation is one of faith in the truth of God's Word and in the beauty of a society that follows God's direction. The special needs child and adult are welcomed into the community. Those who are weak and need assistance are helped by those who are stronger and have more. And although the area is fraught with danger, the people of Judea and Samaria do whatever they can to protect their families, to ensure that their children can play freely, that mothers can walk their babies and meet their friends, that the elderly can gather and enjoy each other's company without fear. The original founders of the communities in Judea and Samaria have been blessed to witness 3 and 4 generations living in the communities that they built on the barren hilltops. The people of Judea and Samaria are special people indeed, loving, caring, imbued with faith, guided by biblical values, confident in the promises that God made to his people. Visit with us in our communities. Get to know us in our homes. Connect to us. Join CFOIC Heartland and connect to the people of Judea and Samaria.
Yes. This is Judea and Samaria. This is CFOIC. Questions, please. Thank you very much. Yes.
I want to Israel. What are the restrictions right now? What are the restrictions right now for traveling to Israel?
Right now, Israel is still closed. You need to have special permission and reasoning to come to Israel. So every person who wants to go needs to fill a form to explain why. That means basically tourists are not going to be allowed. So yeah, Israel is still not opened. And we hope it's going to be opening soon. How do I know it's getting there? Because a lot of places of Israel have now new places installed. with a speedy check. We don't have it in Israel. You have the rapid test, 15 minutes. We don't have it. Now they're going to have centers, so tourists and people visiting can do that as well. So you see where they're aiming. They're aiming to open, they're aiming to allow, they're aiming to bring people in. Unfortunately, I feel that the level in Israel is much better than other countries. So it's going to be limitation on certain countries. When there's countries that were like a lot of sick people, nobody took the vaccine, it's going to be hard for them to enter, I assume. I think the US, just because of the strong friendship and connections and the natural connections, are going to be one of the countries that it's going to be allowed, but as I said, with checkups. More? Yes? No, we're using Pfizer, and there's some people who take the second dose and feel bad for a day maybe, but we have no special stories to tell. No interesting people who died, nothing. We took it, and it worked, and the results are phenomenal. Like, I cannot believe myself, honestly. Cannot believe myself. People are not wearing masks. People are gathering. People are back together, almost like it was before the new normal. Actually, amazing. I can't wait. I can't wait. When I left Israel a week and a half ago, I still didn't think about going to restaurants and shows. It felt weird. Like, why it's so like you're so obsessed. You like the first minute it's open, you need to go. After a week and a half here, when I see people basically doing the same things, but when there are sick people around them without the vaccine, I feel more secure now. I go back, take people out. I think it's going to be great. Pfizer. Yeah. More. Anything else? Yes? Yeah. What do Americans think about the American politics? I can tell you only this perspective. There was an international poll before the elections here, right? They asked countries, government, all the people, who would you vote, Biden or Trump? You tell me. What do you think was the result in France? Trump. What do you think in England? Trump. What do you think in Germany? Wrong. Every single country of the world knows nothing about anything, opens the TV, opens the news, sees what happens here on CNN. That's the strongest channel in the world. Oh, Trump is the worst thing possible. In the survey, every single country in the world voted against Trump. Surprise, surprise. One country was different. That was Israel. Why is that? Because we knew for a fact, not from CNN, what Donald Trump did for the people of Israel. With the embassy, right? With the everything, countless Abraham Accords, with the annexation, with the embassy, with Pollard, with just support, love, respect, going against the UN. So in Israel it was 100% in favor, not 1%, but a lot of people are in favor of Trump. But what we say is as follow, and that's an important thing. I think generally when you're speaking about, there's two countries here, right? In the end of the day, we do not get involved in the inner circle of what happens in your politics. We are not supposed to, and we shouldn't. Why? because we need people to support Israel. And our alliance is with Israel. And we care and we hope and we want and we pray. We know, we're afraid it's not going to happen, but we wish that Israel is going to be a bipartisan issue. That every government, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, are going to support Israel. Now, is it going to happen? Probably not. Are we scared from the people in the administration right now? Yes, we are. But we hope that Israel is not going to be a place of that's going to be damaged from the government here. We pray for you guys that you're going to receive a president that's going to do good for you. Now, in brackets, if you ask me if I would be an American citizen, you can imagine what I would say to you. But it's not my topic to discuss. And that's the general approach. We cared. I'll put it this way, make it very clear. Let's say Biden wakes up tomorrow, he's very old. He could change in a second, right? He wakes up tomorrow and had a dream that Israel is wow, and he wants to be a part of this community, wants to support Israel. We're going to say, great, thank you, come on board, right? It's not important to us who is the person. We care what's your belief, what's your approach, what's your connections. Could be really nasty what's going to happen. I must say, we really hope it's not going to be the case. Yes, more friends. More? Yeah? During the lockdown, what was different for me and my family? Everything. So we have 4 kids under the age of 7. And that's 7, 5, 3.5, and 2. And a boy and 3 girls. I must tell you, in the beginning it was great. I enjoyed it all the way till the end. I think at some point though, it wasn't good for them. You haven't experienced it, so I'll share with you what's a lockdown. Right, there's no school, right? You cannot go outside, you cannot go to friends, you cannot go to play in the park. The kids want to play with his friends in the kindergarten, in the playground. Not allowed. You stay at home, you play, you learn, you cook, you eat. You cook and you eat again. The kids, like, when they're home, they're hungry every 5 minutes. And that was a great time and a great experience. I honestly think that many people in Israel experienced it as a great thing. Like, most of us work really hard, wake up in the early morning, don't see their kids until the evening and night. Now, boom, you're with them. We're privileged, me and my wife, that both of us, we work in very flexible hours in our free time. So it's not like we had to sit in front of a desk from 8 to 4 while the kids are around. Both of us were free to connect with them, to do things together. It was a great time. And I think a lot of the people experienced this the same. It's something you don't do, right? You don't see your kids that much. You don't enjoy them. So that was a great thing. Another interesting concept was the holidays. We had Passover, we had Shavuot, we had Rosh Hashanah, we had Sukkot, we had every holiday. It's different. Usually you go to your parents, you sit with all the siblings, big families. Now it was only father, mother, and kids. Now what with family that, father, mother, 1 kid? What with older people, 2 grandparents by themselves? Not easy. Holidays was like the tough spot for many. My parents had to be by themselves. Yeah? But honestly, experiencing with my kids was great. We enjoyed it. You want to know the proof to that? This Passover, 30 days ago, in our community, So many people staying by themselves with their kids. We told them, you don't go to your parents. No, we loved it last year to do this Passover night by ourselves. We're staying family. You have a family. It's you, your wife, your kids. Great. So we really enjoyed it. Interesting component was this. So last week when I left, and usually when I leave, not a big deal. Abba is leaving. He's going to come in a week and a half, bring us presents. Bye. Let's help you go out. But this time it was different. They were like crying and don't leave, don't go, like drama. Now they don't understand. For me, after a year and a half, I said to myself, I need to help you go, like do it fast. No, but honestly, it was a different approach. Like now, my third daughter, Abigail, every day we spoke. There's video today. Every day we spoke. She was crying, Abba, I miss you, I love you. After a year and a half together, it was really hard for them, the separation. What can I do? 2 things. First of all, double the price, double the gifts, double the candies. No other option. I'm going to have overweight tomorrow. I'm going to pay a lot of money for that, I know. And second, and I think with that we're going to finish. I told them something very simple. I told them for a year and a half, we've been together. It was great. We enjoyed one another. We had a blast. We learned a lot. I cannot tell you how much it changed the family. It really was great. But I have friends and families in America. I was talking about you guys. And now, after a year and a half, when we can spread out, go and visit our relatives, our friends that are out there, that's what we should do. Not surprised. I'm not judging you. I understand you. I talked with them like in a very serious way. But just like we went to visit our grandparents here in Israel, we didn't go for a year and a half. Now we can. So we're going, we're visiting, we're doing. Same. I have friends. I have people that I feel like they're family in this place. I need to go and visit them. We have an opportunity. We're going. That's it. So that was our experience from the lockdown. It was a very, very interesting time. We learned a lot, and we learned to appreciate our family, our country, and that's it. And the truth is, I also learn to appreciate my visits here. Sometimes you forget, and you think about the hardship that living home, traveling, being by yourself, driving for hundreds of kilometers, sleeping in nasty hotels on the way. Honestly, it's not easy to commute. It's not like everything is like, think about the fact that you don't need to feel sorry for me, but you travel to places, there's no kosher food. So you need to arrange something. You live out of your suitcase, basically. Don't feel sorry for me. But it's not that easy. But after a year and a half, another thing I understood is how much I miss the love and the affection and the support I get from those visits. Like, truly, coming here today, seeing your face, accepting the fact that you came to hear me, big honor for me. And that's a great thing. It fills me with power and energy to continue to do, and to know that we have so many good friends out there that support us, support our cause, support our families. That's a great, great thing. Coming and see the flags, honestly, I said it, and I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. It is not clear to me till this point how it works and how much we do not know about it. Like, I know now. And it's funny, that's the first scene I said with Pastor Don. Sitting in a restaurant in the middle of Fitchburg. Now I know the name. That's the name, right? Fitchburg? and talking about Israel, caring, what do we do with Israel? There's things we need to do. That is an amazing thing. For me, I think I'm blessed. I really feel blessed. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave you now to go to sleep. I have a long drive to somewhere towards New York when I'm flying tomorrow. Finally going to see my kids. And I hope to meet you again soon. I wish you would come to Israel before I'm going to come to you. And I want to bless all of you, only good health and good government and everything that's needed, and continue to bless, support, and love Israel. It means a lot to us. We really, really are blessed because of it. Thank you.
And just so you know, you have a congregation here that would never say, we're done with Israel. It's too deep in our heart. I think as you're telling that story, it's kind of a foreign thing to us. Like, if it's part of your heart, how do you get it out of your heart? And I think that's the biggest thing that my dad imparted into this congregation from the time that we purchased this building is the love for Israel, the love for the people, the love for the land. And I can tell you that for all of us, there's not been a day during this lockdown that we haven't thought of you guys, that we haven't prayed for Israel, that we haven't longed to be there. And we definitely will be planning a trip soon. As soon as things open up, we will be planning a trip. So you can pass on our love and support to your wife, your children, and we look forward to the next time you are here with us. So, well, thank you for those of you who joined us tonight. We hope that you've been blessed by Shmuel's speech here tonight. And we trust that you'll join us on Saturday at 11 o'clock. Until then, you have a good week.